Hi, and welcome to Edge of Your Seat.
Was anyone actually asking for this? This feels like the question that both of the Disney-produced Star Wars offshoots have had to face. Stories in the main Skywalker saga are immune to this line of criticism, but stories about how the Rebels got the Death Star plans or how Hanny met Chewie need to justify their existence. And while Solo doesn't manage to do so nearly as emphatically as Rogue One did, it's still well worth checking out. As the title would suggest, we follow Maverick supporting character turned protagonist Han Solo. Take note, pirates. This is how you pull that trick. As he goes from poor but charming street rat to the suave but small fry smuggler we know and love from the OG trilogy. I won't really give much in the way of a plot breakdown, as seeing how all the pieces come together to form the well-known setup is the lion's share of the fun here, but suffice to say that we're dealing with a classic western heist movie, except it's in space. It's not a great film by any means. It's probably the weakest of Disney's efforts. There are some pacing and editing issues that suggest the now usual December opening would have been better, and would have saved it the competition of Deadpool 2. But the main issue here is a feeling of it being slightly inconsequential. That's not to say it isn't a really fun ride while it's happening, it's just that it's the least likely to stay with you out of these new films. Apart from maybe this fan-servicey bit at the end, where spoilers, 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 spoilers. When her husband of many years passes away, Edie Moore, played by Sheila Hancock, with a lived-in charm, finds herself adrift. Her youthful ambition swallowed in an unhappy marriage, she may finally be free to do as she pleases. In an attempt to recapture purpose in her life and prove herself, she sets out on a spontaneous trip to Scotland, intending to climb the striking mountain Sullivan. Though wanting to do it all alone, she's assisted by nice guy local Johnny. With obvious inspirational themes of pursuing dreams at any age and intergenerational acceptance, the film has modest but commendable goals. Couple these with a more than capable cast and some truly gorgeous scenery, and it really should be a winner. But as much as I wanted to love Edie, I just couldn't. The dialogue is often clunky and heavy-handed, restricting the performances. And then there's the pacing. If it weren't for clear tonal attempts to make this aspirational and feel-good, I'd assume it was designed to mimic the plodding struggle of the protagonist herself. Like her climb, it can often feel like an impossible chore, even whilst I admire the commitment. It's not a bad film, and it will likely be enjoyed by Edie's own generation when it makes its way to Sunday afternoon telly, but it's just not worth a hike to the cinema. On the eve of yet another 13th birthday in Transylvania, young bloodsucker Rudolph Sackville-Bagg, somewhere, Bilbo's ears are twitching, evades capture by the maniacal vampire hunter Rookery and his hapless inventor sidekick. At the same time, young American vampire enthusiast Tony Thompson and his family are holidaying in Germany near the cemetery home of Rudolph's aunt and uncle. The two families collide and must put aside mutual prejudices to defeat Rookery, whose ill-defined villainy apparently extends to killing human children too. This is the second big screen adaptation of the German children's book series The Little Vampire by Angela Sommer-Bodenberg, after the 2000 live-action film. This is probably closer to that adaptation than either are to the source material, but neither make for great films. For a target market of children, this new animation has nothing particularly wrong with it, apart from Rudolph nearly murdering his friend several times. But there's also nothing particularly engaging for anyone who's already hit double digits. If your child does have a particular interest, wait for it to turn up on a children's TV channel and then just leave them to it. Show Dogs is essentially the talking canine equivalent of Miss Congeniality, as tough police dog Max must go undercover at a dog show to foil a smuggling ring that has stolen a... Really? A baby panda? Okay.
What does this have to do with a dog show, you may ask?
Who cares? Answers the film. He's accompanied by Will Arnett as a largely incompetent human cop who doesn't like dogs. Oh, the irony. Arnett is the tip of the overqualified iceberg, though, with a cast consisting of Natasha Lyonne, Stanley Tucci, and Alan Cumming, almost all visibly wincing their way through to a paycheck. The plot plays out pretty much exactly as you'd expect, except for one element that I want to talk about in more detail. The jokes are reheated and embarrassing, the slow-mo CGI is ugly as sin, and the editing makes my earlier complaints about Duck Duck Goose look laughably naive. And yet, all of this could be overlooked if it weren't for a frankly disgusting bit of messaging. It's all very well.
It's not. It's lazy and wrong.
To say, it's a kids' film, it doesn't matter when it comes to filmmaking quality, but ideas and values are a different kettle of fish. There is a section in this film, in fact it's actually a crucial plot point to the finale, where the main character is told to accept unwanted groping by going to their happy place. In context, Max must have his genitals examined to pass inspection, but he objects. A better kids' film would skip over this necessary part of dog shows.
Actually, a better film would look into consent.
But this here is played for laughs. Haha, stupid dog doesn't want to be groped but has to be.
Ha ha ha.
Yes, he's just a talking animal, but Max clearly is the protagonist. The main focus of the child audience's empathy. What he learns, kids learn. And when the most powerful man in the world owns the human equivalent of a dog show and thinks that grabbing genitals is a fun part of that job, it's a dangerous lesson for anyone to learn. Kabul, Afghanistan, 2001. A land of rich culture and history, stifled by the fundamentalist rule of the Taliban. It's a difficult time for all, but especially for women. This is the setting for the new animation The Breadwinner, based on the novel by Deborah Ellis. We follow 11-year-old Pawana, daughter of a teacher and a writer, the former now confined to the marketplace, peddling what little the family has, the latter confined to the house as no more than a wife and mother. When her father is arrested for heresy, Pawana feels that she must step up and provide for her mother, older sister, and younger brother. She does this by cutting her hair and wearing traditionally male garb, managing to infiltrate the boys' club culture. This means that the film can explore and criticise a world of repressive gender norms whilst building its characters and its sense of place. Now, this alone would make it worthy of recommendation, but it has another trick up its sleeve. Stories. Anyone familiar with Cartoon Saloon's other films, and if you're not, Secret of Kells,
And Songless Sea.
comes highly recommended, will know that they have a talent for weaving myths and legends into their storytelling. As an Irish company, their past mythologising has been based in the Celtic, but here they fully embrace the love of stories at the heart of Middle Eastern culture. And more than that, they explore how those stories define us and how their familiarity can be used to calm us in our darkest moments. Now, these darker moments are also confronted though, and younger or more sensitive viewers might be as shocked by some scenes as they are warmed by others, but ultimately it is something they should definitely see. Viewers who can remember back to February will remember what we think of the 50 Shades franchise. It's terrible. So the prospect of a film celebrating it didn't really appeal.
Hey, it could have been good.
Was it though?
No.
So, 4 lifelong friends have been meeting for a book club for decades. They still love each other's company, but their love lives have generally stalled. Diane is recently widowed, Sharon has all but abandoned sex, and Carol's marriage has hit a dry patch. This status quo is shaken up though when free-loving Vivian suggests a group reads the famous erotic novel by E.L. James, and the group egg each other on to rekindle their sexuality. Now, I want to be very clear about this. As far as intended themes go, that's an admirable one. Getting women to own and celebrate their sexuality is highly important.
The fact that society puts a sell-by date on our sexuality? Why?
And yet, that idea alone doesn't make this a good or worthwhile film. Especially when that message is slightly undercut by tacitly suggesting that women can only be happy if they have a man in their life. For a film that should be challenging norms of age and sex, it all feels so safe, so vanilla.
Only one of them actually has sex. Well, they had some ruffled clothes.
I'm not saying that this needed to be a raunchy sex comedy, but as it is, it's just dull. And whilst I'll fully admit that neither of us are quite the target market,
We're young.
and we hate 50 Shades, I feel like saying, your mum might enjoy this, is just patronising. Your mum deserves a version of this message, sure, but she also deserves a better film. Next time, we'll be going back to Jurassic World. No.
Num num.